She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA.
League executives simply cannot overlook Rebecca Lobo's upcoming comments regarding Caitlin Clark and the officiating, as her insights are incredibly revealing. Even though the recent matchup between the Fever and the Sun perfectly illustrated the massive impact Caitlin Clark has on the sport despite poor officiating, this exact style of refereeing could ultimately ruin the entire league. Legendary player Rebecca Lobo has officially sounded the warning. Her point is not just based on basic reasoning. She exposed the private conversations currently happening among league insiders regarding the refs. It seems quite obvious that management still has no idea how to protect their biggest asset, Caitlin Clark. While top officials might dislike hearing the truth, these points desperately needed to be brought to light. Let us dive into what Rebecca shared and look at the ongoing situation in Indiana, which highlights both incredible success and deeply troubling executive inaction. Before we dive in, please take a moment to hit the like button, as each one represents a call these officials seem to be missing. Don't forget to follow our channel for continuous coverage of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana squad. To fully understand the situation, we need to revisit some recent events.
Down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark. Two players with incredible up. Clark, another long three.
The superstar has made her return. Just a handful of matchups ago, Caitlin Clark made a spectacular comeback to the court. She managed to score 25 points during the opening half alone, hitting 3 incredibly deep three-pointers in a span of just 38 seconds. That thrilling sequence did far more than just reward the waiting public. It made it undeniably clear to the entire sport who truly commands the spotlight. When she was sidelined, television viewership plummeted by as much as 50% in certain markets. Yet the moment she stepped back onto the floor, her brilliant play captivated the public once again, shifting the entire sports conversation back to the league. Anyone who doubted her unique importance received definitive proof during her brief time away and her subsequent explosive return. It was the ultimate declaration that settled any debate. The league does not merely gain from her presence. It completely depends on her. Her 5 games missed did not just slow down momentum, they exposed a massive vulnerability. TV numbers plummeted, online interactions fell off a cliff, and nationwide attention completely disappeared. Without her on the court, every other narrative in the sport immediately felt irrelevant. Rebecca, can you explain what her comeback signifies for the sport? Well, it simply means that a massive audience is tuning back into the games. It is no secret that she single-handedly boosts television viewership and public interest, so watching her return with such an unbelievable performance was truly mind-blowing. Following a period of declining viewership and growing anxiety, her re-emergence re-energized both the Indiana franchise and the league as a whole. The broadcast featuring her matchup against the Liberty reached a peak audience of 2.8 million viewers, cementing its place among the highest-rated games in history. To put that into perspective, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals brought in an average of 2.5 million viewers. While matching up ice hockey against basketball might not be an identical comparison, the fact that she drew a larger audience than an established men's professional league playing for its ultimate trophy is absolutely extraordinary. Even though league management completely overlooked the importance of these numbers, a topic we will dive into shortly, the reality was completely clear to Rebecca Lobo. As an Olympic champion, a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, and one of the most respected analysts on television, she recognized the gravity of the situation. Prior to reviewing her critiques of the game officials, listen to how she described the sheer magnitude of this comeback. Second span, during which she continuously hit incredibly long-distance shots. As I watched from the sidelines, I realized that despite being involved with this league since 1997, I had never witnessed an individual performance like that before. Players frequently go on scoring streaks, but this was entirely different because multiple shots were launched from well beyond 30+ feet out. She put on an absolute clinic. Pay close attention to that observation from Rebecca Lobo about audiences returning to watch. It may sound like a minor point, but it speaks volumes about the state of the game. The phrase implies that fans had actually tuned out prior to her comeback, and we know exactly when that decline happened. During the period when the star was absent, viewers tuned out, but Lobo elaborated further on why the audience returned the moment she stepped back on the hardwood, calling the phenomenon completely unbelievable. It is incredibly rare for a seasoned observer like me to watch a game and think to myself that I am witnessing something unprecedented. That is precisely what makes this so significant. These shots were far from ordinary long-range attempts. They were launched from extreme distances near the center logo. Audiences tune in because almost no other athlete can replicate that feat consistently and effortlessly. Even a competitor like Natasha Cloud, who has frequently clashed with the superstar's fanbase, had to acknowledge the truth of the situation. Defenders must guard her the moment she crosses the mid-court line, which is highly unusual. If you doubt it, just look at Rebecca's analysis or examine this incredible video footage showing a direct blow to the eye. This situation has evolved past standard physical defense or human error by the refs. The patterns emerging over the past 2 seasons are deeply alarming. This issue is now so glaring that veteran analysts are openly voicing their concerns, especially after a recent game against the Sun that should serve as a wake-up call for the entire organization. Look, we would have stepped in immediately, Courtney, if anyone ever brought you down like that, though nobody would dare try that with me. They might try those tactics with Bridget, which means we would have to step up and handle it right then and there. Do you catch my drift? I am simply stating that no one is going to take me down like that. If it ever takes place, you need to back me up completely, just like I would back you up. We are in this together so we can split whatever consequences come our way. During the action, J.C. Sheldon and Marina Mayberry physically targeted Caitlin Clark, sending her to the hardwood with a hard hit and scraping her face. Yet the officials failed to eject either player. It is true that Caitlin had been exchanging words with Sheldon earlier in the contest, but verbal trash talk never justifies physical retaliation. The sport cannot expect to grow its brand if it allows players to be thrown around like professional wrestlers. The television commentators expressed sheer disbelief during the live broadcast, fully expecting a flagrant ejection to be called. That shock was shared by everyone following the game, from the coaching staff to the audience at home. In this footage, you can see J.C. Sheldon grabbing and twisting Clark's arm and shoulder area. It is an incredibly dangerous sequence. Looking at the wider camera angle, it becomes completely obvious that management has lost a handle on player safety on the court. Unsurprisingly, the clip of her getting hit in the face quickly spread across social media. But that was just one incident in a game filled with escalating tension that the officiating crew completely ignored. The modern sport has evolved dramatically, featuring athletes who are quicker, more powerful, and more skilled than ever before. The overall athleticism has reached unprecedented heights, causing the pace of play to accelerate rapidly. While the talent on the court continues to improve every year, the quality of officiating has completely stagnated. This constant friction eventually led to a complete boiling point. Following the final buzzer, Stephanie White was visibly irate, with her intense frustration obvious before she even began her press conference. After taking her seat and taking a deep breath, she let out all of her anger regarding the calls. She expressed disbelief at how a player could be pulled down onto her hip without a proper whistle, calling the physical play an absolute assault on the players. She noted that multiple athletes, including Clark, were being repeatedly hit without consequences from the crew. That is an incredibly direct indictment of the officiating crew without naming them individually. The message is clear: the game is passing the refs by. This sharp criticism reflects the deep frustration shared by competitors, coaches, and viewers alike all year long. This issue extends far beyond just one matchup against the Sun. It has been snowballing throughout the entire schedule. The root problem centers on highly erratic whistles, overlooked infractions, and a complete failure to safeguard top-tier talents like Clark on the floor. It appeared to be a clear violation. The situation over the past several matchups has become completely unacceptable, highlighted by a massive -31 free throw discrepancy. Such a disparity might make sense if the team relied entirely on outside perimeter shots, but the squad is consistently driving into the paint. The lack of standard officiating respect shown toward this roster is hard to credit, making the outcome highly frustrating. The Indiana franchise struggled to get fair whistles from opening night, but the problem peaked during a tight 90-88 loss to the Liberty. The controversial contest sparked heavy debate among everyone involved, as the refereeing appeared incredibly one-sided throughout the night. While the opposing team picked up easy calls, Indiana could not get a whistle to go their way. This created a massive gap in free throw opportunities, but the highly questionable non-calls in the final seconds caused the most outrage. During the deciding sequence, Natasha Cloud clearly disrupted Clark illegally, preventing her from getting off a final attempt. When video replays circulated online, basketball commentators and fans expressed massive outrage over the missed infraction, echoing the sentiments of the coaching staff. For the second time while driving aggressively, the contact was incredibly intense. When trying to communicate with the official to monitor player safety and landing zones, the response was literal laughter right before an ankle injury occurred. A similar dangerous play occurred during the trip to Dallas without a proper flagrant call, matching what happened in this contest. While the joint is holding up, the ongoing situation is becoming incredibly exhausting. Despite consistently attacking the paint and welcoming contact rather than avoiding it, the free throw average remains below 2 attempts per game. The ultimate hope is that official organizations prioritize competitor health over the personal pride of the officiating crew. It seems quite contradictory that financial penalties were handed down for these comments rather than for the outbursts following the Sun matchup. It felt as though management was secretly admitting their errors, realizing that the on-court performance by the refs was completely indefensible. Frankly, a public admission is exactly what is needed. Before exploring the incredibly revealing and dangerous warnings shared by Rebecca Lobo, we must address the widespread discontent brewing across the entire sport. Constantly. Furthermore, recent conversations with several head coaches around the league confirmed a unanimous sentiment that the standard of refereeing must improve immediately, particularly regarding consistent calls from quarter to quarter and night to night. Instead of addressing legitimate concerns about dangerous contact, officials are reportedly mocking the players on the floor. Competitors are left making dark jokes about sustaining serious injuries if the current trend remains unchecked. This brings us back to the core issue raised by Rebecca Lobo and how it directly ties into Clark's situation. The ultimate reality is simple. If their biggest star suffers a major injury, the entire business takes a massive hit. Deep down, every executive, competitor, television network, and spectator recognizes this truth. To her credit, Lobo avoided minimizing the issue, delivering the hard truths as professionally as possible. Yet, analyzing her specific statements reveals a scenario that is far more alarming than it initially appears. An active coach admitted that teams instruct their rosters to use extreme physical pressure for the entire 40 minutes of play, knowing the officials will ignore those infractions for roughly 38 of them. Consequently, there is a league-wide desire for stricter officiating that allows for clean player movement on the court. Consider the weight of those words for a moment. She did not suggest that only a couple of staff members expressed concern. She emphasized that every single one did. Every leader she contacted views the current refereeing as a massive crisis. This creates an even more dangerous environment moving forward. If the coaching community collectively believes the refs have surrendered control of the game, teams will feel forced to adapt by operating under an unwritten set of rules. If the whistleblowers refuse to safeguard the talent, the rosters will take matters into their own hands. That is exactly when the situation turns incredibly dangerous. Opponents continuously used excessive force against Clark, operating under the assumption that officials would eventually stop blowing the whistle on repetitive fouls. It looks less like standard defensive positioning and more like a deliberate strategy of constant hacking. The lack of standard enforcement has essentially sent a message that the blueprint to defeating Indiana is to commit blatant infractions without fear of consequence. It is not traditional physical defense. It is simply fouling repeatedly because the crew refuses to penalize it, especially during the closing minutes of a tight matchup. This dynamic mirrors a highway where drivers are told to ignore speed limits because there is no traffic enforcement, forcing everyone to drive recklessly just to keep pace. By failing to upgrade their officiating standards, league executives are inadvertently fostering a dangerous environment where teams must rely on aggressive tactics simply to survive. Competitors realize the officiating crew will not step in to maintain order. The consequences of this inaction are already visible through late hits, hard body checks, and blatant uncalled infractions against Clark, leading to mounting anger from coaching staffs and fan bases alike. When these dangerous sequences occur repeatedly without intervention, it stops looking like accidental oversight and begins to look intentional, leaving the impression that the league's top draw is completely unprotected on the court. It is easy to see the logic from management's perspective, as Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has openly stated that heated rivalries and intense competition are beneficial for the business. While intense matchups certainly drive financial success and add excitement to the sport, relying on manufactured controversy and dangerous fouls against Clark is a massive mistake. The sport already possesses the most recognizable and highly watched figure in the history of women's athletics. The current situation serves as a stark warning. The next time she is subjected to a dangerous hit on the court, the league risks losing far more than just a single night's television ratings. They risk losing their entire future. If you followed along to the end of this video, please drop a basketball emoji in the comments section below. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next update.